Dr. Abernathy, our distinguished Vice President, fellow delegates to this, the 10th annual session of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, my brothers and sisters from not only all over the South, but from all over the United States of America. And 10 years ago, during the piercing chill of a January day and on the heels of the year-long Montgomery bus boycott, a group of approximately 100 Negro leaders from across the South assembled in this church and agreed on the need for an organization to be formed that could serve as a channel through which local protest organizations in the South could coordinate their protest activities. It was this meeting that gave birth to the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. When our organization was formed 10 years ago, racial segregation was still a structured part of the architecture of Southern society. Negroes with the pangs of hunger and the anguish of thirst were denied access to the average lunch counter. The downtown restaurants were still off limits for the black man. Negroes burdened with the fatigue of travel were still barred from the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. Negro boys and girls in dire need of recreational activities were not allowed to inhale the fresh air of the big city parks. Negroes in desperate need of allowing their mental buckets to sink deep into the wells of knowledge were confronted with a firm no when they sought to use the city libraries. 10 years ago, legislative halls of the South were still ringing loud with such words as interposition and nullification. All types of conniving methods were still being used to keep the Negro from becoming a registered voter. A decade ago, not a single Negro entered the legislative chambers of the South except as a porter or chauffeur. 10 years ago, all too many Negroes were still harried by day and haunted by night by a corroding sense of fear and a nagging sense of nobodiness. But things are different now. In assault after assault, we cause the sagging walls of segregation to come tumbling down. During this era, the entire edifice of segregation was profoundly shaken. This is an accomplishment whose consequences are deeply felt by every Southern Negro in his daily life. It is no longer possible to count the number of public establishments that are open to Negroes. 10 years ago, Negroes seemed almost invisible to the larger society, and the facts of their harsh lives were unknown to the majority of the nation. But today, civil rights is a dominating issue in every state, crowding the pages of the press and the daily conversation of white Americans. In this decade of change, the Negro stood up and confronted his oppressor. He faced the bullies and the guns, the dogs and the tear gas. He put himself squarely before the vicious mobs and moved with strength and dignity toward them and decisively defeated them. The courage with which he confronted enraged mobs dissolved the stereotype of the grinning, submissive Uncle Tom. He came out of his struggle integrated only slightly in the external society, but powerfully integrated within. This was a victory that had to precede all other gains. In short, over the last 10 years, the Negro decided to straighten his back up, realizing that a man cannot ride your back unless it is bent. We made our government write new laws to alter some of the cruelest injustices that affected us. We made an indifferent and unconcerned nation rise from lethargy and subpoenaed its conscience to appear before the judgment seat of morality on the whole question of civil rights. We gained manhood in the nation that had always called us boy. It would be hypocritical indeed if I allowed modesty to forbid my saying that SCLC stood at the forefront of all of the watershed movements that brought these monumental changes in the South. For this we can feel a legitimate pride. But in spite of a decade of significant progress, the problem is far from solved. The deep rumbling of discontent in our cities is indicative of the fact that the plant of freedom has grown only a bud and not yet a flower. Before discussing the awesome responsibilities that we face in the days ahead, let us take an inventory of our programmatic action and activities over the past year. Last year, as we met in Jackson, Mississippi, we were painfully aware of the struggle of our brothers in Grenada, Mississippi. After living for 100 or more years under the yoke of total segregation, the Negro citizens of this northern Delta hamlet banded together in nonviolent warfare against racial discrimination under the leadership of our affiliate chapter and organization there. The fact of this non-destructive rebellion was as spectacular as its results. In a few short weeks, the Grenada County movement challenged every aspect of the society's exploitive life, Stores which denied employment were boycotted. Voter registration increased by thousands. We can never forget the courageous action of the people of Grenada, who moved our nation and its federal courts to powerful action in behalf of school integration, giving Grenada one of the most integrated school systems in America. The battle is far from over, but the black people of Grenada have achieved 40 of 53 demands through their persistent, nonviolent efforts. Slowly but surely, our Southern affiliates continued their building and organizing. 79 counties conducted voter registration drives, while double that number carried on political education and get out the vote efforts. In spite of press opinions, our staff is still overwhelmingly a Southern-based staff. 105 persons have worked across the South under the direction of Jose Williams. What used to be primarily a voter registration staff is actually a multifaceted program dealing with the total life of the community, from farm cooperatives, business development, tutorials, credit unions, etc. Especially to be commended are those 99 communities and their staffs which maintain regular mass meetings throughout the year. Our citizenship education program continues to lay the solid foundation of adult education and community organization upon which all social change must ultimately rest. This year, 500 local leaders received training at Dorchester and Penn community centers through our citizenship education program. They were trained in literacy, consumer education, Planned Parenthood, and many other things. This program, so ably directed by Mrs. Dorothy Cotton, Mrs. Septima Clark, and their staff of 8 persons, continues to cover 10 southern states. Our auxiliary feature CEP is the aid which they have given to poor communities, poor counties in receiving and establishing OEO projects. With the competent professional guidance of our marvelous staff member, Miss Muson Lee, Lowndes and Wilcox counties in Alabama have pioneered in developing outstanding poverty programs, totally controlled and operated by residents of the area. Perhaps the area of greatest concentration of my efforts has been in the cities of Chicago and Cleveland. Chicago has been a wonderful proving ground for our work in the North. There have been no earth-shaking victories, but neither has there been failure. Our open housing marches, which finally brought about an agreement, which actually caused the power structure of Chicago to capitulate to the civil rights movement, these marches and the agreement have finally begun to pay off. After the season of delay around election periods, the leadership conference, organized to meet our demands for an open city, has finally begun to implement the programs agreed to last summer. But this is not the most important aspect of our work. As a result of our tenant union organizing, we have begun a $4 million rehabilitation project which will renovate deteriorating buildings and allow their tenants the opportunity to own their own homes. This pilot project was the inspiration for the new home ownership bill which Senator Plessy introduced in Congress only recently. The most dramatic success in Chicago has been Operation Breadbasket. Through Operation Breadbasket, we have now achieved for the Negro community of Chicago more than 2,200 new jobs with an income of approximately $18 million a year. New income to the Negro community.
That is the voice of the late Dr. Martin Luther King. Some of you might be wondering why our intro to this program was played. Because Dr. Martin Luther King was an inspiration, a civil rights activist, a man with the fear of God. And this coming Monday will be his birthday. And so leading up to his birthday, it is customary in this country that will commemorate one of the, if not the one of the men that paid the ultimate price. And so we wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that we are all grateful to the late Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He one of those that I read about, I listen to his speeches because he inspired me, he uplift me, and give me a good sense of reflections, how far we have come as people, as society, and as a nation. And so that was the voice of Dr. Martin Luther King. We want to say happy birthdays to all those who are celebrating our birthdays in the month of January. We pray that God will bless you with long life, good health, peace of mind, and all of your heart desires. If a wedding anniversary fall on your wedding anniversary, we say double shout out to you and your special loved one. We pray that God will bless the holy matrimony homes with love, with peace, with unity, longevity, and all of your secret heart desires. If you are bereaved, we also want to take this time to extend our deeper condolences to you and your family. We pray that God will comfort you, God will strengthen you during this difficult time of bereavement. We also want to use the time to say these are tough times. These are times of what I describe of uncertainty, especially for those of us that are residing in this beautiful state of Minnesota. And so we want to remind us that in times like these, like Reverend Chi will say, your connection is not who you know, it's not what you know, it's not what you look like, it's not what you think, it's not what you have, but rather it is by his grace and his mercy. And so tonight we want to extend an open invitation to you. We do this every time we take to the airwave. We do not apologize for that because we believe every time that I wake up and go about my normal routine, It is not by my will, it is not by my strength. It is by his grace, his unconditional love for me. And so we want to make sure we extend this open invitation to you that find time within your busy schedule and connect with God, because we say faith comes by hearing and by hearing and by hearing the word of God. And so we got a place which is Mount Zion Interdenominational Church. We have a prayer line that we meet on from Monday to Thursday. Monday, a testimony. I will encourage you to come and listen to, if there is any day in a week, Monday, come and listen to people giving their testimony, what God is doing in their life, the transformation that is taking place. And so Monday we meet, Tuesday we study the Bible, Wednesday is all prayers, Thursday we study the Bible, Wednesday and Thursday we meet in person and online. Wednesday and Thursday we meet in person and online. And so you have nothing to lose. All I'm doing, I'm inviting you, because part of the reason why this show was created is to create awareness. We share information that will benefit us. And so the platform is not where we come to gossip. It's not where we come to disseminate mis and disinformation. It's where we discuss real issues. And so that is why we making sure we extend this invitation, and we hope that you take advantage of this. And so if you're in a Twin City and you say, where's the church location? It's 6830 Quay Avenue North, Brooklyn Center. And you say, free, how do I get in? The telephone number to the prayer line is 763-220-3265. Once again, the telephone number is 763-220-3265. I'm encouraging you, come and listen to the senior pastor of Mount Zion Interdenominational Church, Pastor Reginald Wanochie. And so we hope you take advantage. Better still, if you, for whatever reason, if the time do not, if the time, then we ask that you found a God believing Bible church that you can find and spend some time with God. So tonight we wanted to make sure that we tell you the topic. As you all know, normally we do what we call Friday is our week in review Friday, where we look at issues that are unfolding around the globe, especially, particularly in Liberia. But we put in a topic that one of our listeners, when he responded to me, his feedback, because remember now, we started a year, and I believe that the reason why we all over the place is because our mind is not right. Our family is not right. And so if we going to make that transition, that transformation, then I believe our 20 and 26 has to be different. It have to be different. Because the fact remains that we say everything that is unfolding, it is done by mistakes. It is because there are just too many broken families around. And so we talk to you in sequence. We told you about family is the bedrock foundation for any successful nation. And so today we're going to be looking at the newspaper. We will dive in and check on the status of what is unfolding as it relates to the horrible act, that took place in Liberia concerning the 15 years old boy. But the question today, and we posted it since last night because we wanted to give you some time to reflect based upon the question that we asked. Not because, like I said, it was my brother and friend that responded to me, telling me his true feelings. And so that's what we presented it to the larger audience, which of course makes sense. In our last topic that we discussed, that Christ has to be the center of our life and the word that was given to us for this year. Every and anything we do should be done not because of us, not because we want to show off, but it has to be because of Christ. And so when my brother responded to me on the previous topic, that alone tell me that it was time to have the discussion. And the question is religion. Is religion and politics, because that's what he said. He said, I am done with politics. He said, religion and politics are the sole reason why the world is in total chaos. And so we posted that. We posted that. Do you believe that religion and politics are responsible for all the destructions that are taking place in the world? We'll do our best. We do not have or magic one answer to the question, but we'll give you our own opinion. And because people see those two things, religion and politics, being the reason for everything that is unfolding. And rightfully so, that is why a lot of people turn not to go to church. They get turned off by church, or they get turned off by religion, they get turned off by politics because of the same very feelings. And so we're going to look into that, and then we're going to look at the headlines. What is unfolding in our beautiful country, Liberia? And so we will make sure we do our best, but we encourage you that we're going to put in the link, and we hope that you will participate in this all important topic. And so we're going to be looking at all of that plus what is unfolding in our homeland, Liberia. And so we're going to hang in there. We'll pause here. And then, like I said, nobody can tell us that they are not the beneficiary, or they did not benefit from the great man called Dr. Martin Luther King. And so on this important day, we want to make sure that and so as we commemorate, we will continue to play speeches of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And so we're going to play a brief speech, and then we'll come back and we'll join into our topic. So again, stay tuned.
I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summit of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until that is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of getting place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protests to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force.
Once again, we're going to pause. That is the voice of the late Dr. Martin Luther King, the civil rights activist, the young Baptist preacher. And every time I listen to Dr. King, it's like he's alive. That's how much powerful Dr. King was. And so tonight, we really wanted to dive into that question. Again, we do not have all of the answers, but it's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate concern. And this year, we have been reminded by Reverend Chia that the fruit we bear how attractive, how good that fruit is will attract people. And so the question to us, and I hope people can, if you watch it, if you have the time, if you want to jump in, we appreciate that. But I hope you have thought about this question. You are ready. Look at the question. Start with my very self. Because from the day I was hit with this question, I've given it a really deep thought. Is religion and politics responsible for the destruction that is taking place on this planet that God has given us? I don't know about you. And like I said, a lot of times when I'm doing this show, I do not like to what I termed, because the thing is, I believe that, I don't want to be referring to statistic or data, because I believe it's human being that is producing this information, because they run what we call to really get into the nitty gritty. But sometimes I just want us to just look at common sense, because this topic we all can relate, we all can attest, we all can agree, or we all can disagree. We all got different opinion based on what we see, based on what we feel, and based upon what we know. Giving our own self. It is not about anybody. Look at yourself first, and then maybe you can come up with your own answer. Because Jesus, when he came to this earth, he came to pay an ultimate price, because there is nobody nobody in the Bible that could have done this besides Christ. But prior to his departure from this earth, and you are 100% man, 100% God. And the reason is, in the flesh of man, you wanted to teach us, because he knew you came down for a purpose, and you are leaving at which time you will come back. But he will not belong to a particular religion. No. If you've been to Bible study, if you're somebody who read, again, common sense, you will know that the people, before he left, there are certain things he instituted among his disciples. How they should live, how they should treat each other, how they should love people. Because not only did he say in his mouth, but while you're on this earth, he demonstrated it for them to see. Because when he leave, you don't want people saying, "Oh, he disciple at the time." No. And so we know Christianity started because people that saw the disciples of Christ, that said, indeed, these people are truly Christ's follower, based upon the things that they did. But today, if you look at the entire world that we live in, whether, quote unquote, as we describe it, their nation is a Christian nation, their nation is a Muslim nation, Hindu nation. But I believe all these people that are in leaderships, whether in the Middle East or Asia or Europe or America, they look one way or the other. They do have spiritual advisor spiritual advisor. And so, and one thing for sure, I do not have the answer. So I can say for fact, in private, I don't know what they be telling these leaders. And so from history, tell us that looking back that you find most if the most powerful leaders around the globe, they belong to some kind of religion, some kind of religions. Either the two, let me say, I'll say 2.5, 3 dominant religion. Islam, you talk about Christianity number 1, Islam number 2, maybe Hindu. These are powerful religions. And so if you go back to Joseph Stalin, go back to Hitler, you go back to, you name it. All these people, they have people, religious leaders, people that were close to them. But what I can say for fact on the show, I don't know if they truly listen to that spiritual advisor. I don't know. But my answer to this question, I believe that yes, I agree with my brother Ruben Linger that religion and politics are responsible for most of the destruction and damages done to this earth. Because if I'm in positions to advise and pray, then some of the decisions that are taken way before someone were born, some of the mayhem, the atrocity that were committed, then it leaves me with more questions than answer. Because what did these people say to those leaders? Because there is no way, I know a lot of times we try to say you can separate politics from church. But it's just hard. And so because we are Christians, the thing that we do, the way we behave, the way we carry ourselves, the thing we say, it leaves a lot of people wondering and saying, no. You know, it's easy. And today we find it in our society. It is easy for us to just talk, for us to talk. But I will actually demonstrating love. Because politics, religion continue to divide us. Continue to divide us. And so prior to the day, we before last, we told you the Church of England realized between 2020 to now, they lose again, they decline in membership. 100,000 between the age of 14 to 20 something. Why? Because the young people today look at the church to be no. Because they don't see, they can't connect. They do not feel the love of Christ and they can't make the connection. And so people stay home and they say, I will pray to God. So there's 20 and 26. You know, I'll be, you know, when I'm talking these things, I hate to generalize it, but I like to tailor it down to my own country that I'm from whatever, from Joseph Chicken Rao all the way now to Joseph Boakai. I believe each of these people have spiritual advisor. Now, I was born in the mid-70s, so I don't know. I can't say much, but I know for sure during those time to have spiritual advisor, people that will go and pray during Taylor time. I wasn't there for Judy Bryant. I wasn't there for Eddie Johnson said that, but I heard that it has, and these are people that went to churches. And so some of the decisions that these people make, and some of the things that happen under their watches, and the question that continue to rise, where are these people at? Because you see, and that's why the brother said, I am getting sick and tired with politics and religion because they say they are causing the most harm. The more harm to this planet. And we say, it's an open question. Where you think, where is your own input? Do you agree? Apart from all being divided geographical by our geographical location, one thing that divide or more is religion. And when Christ came, that was not the case. He didn't die on the cross because of certain people. He died because of mankind. Mankind. That's how the Bible describes it. And so how do we make that how can we get back to that? And so the challenge here is, we know we are human beings, we are in the flesh. But sometimes the least we can do, especially us as Christians, people that are in positions of leadership that are close to these leaders, not only just praying for them, but you got to keep reminding them some of the decisions that people take. How do we justify it? How do we justify it? How do we truly justify that? And so this question, like the brother told me, and there's a man I know that were very involved, but maybe he believed now that, hey, I just got to pray to God for myself. Because we all know. Again, I just want to focus on Liberia, where I'm from. Politics is one of the things that is one of the things that divide us in Liberia. Politics. And you see us, we are already divided by our different religion. And so the 21st century, 2026, if we need to close that gap, because it's getting so wide and wide up by the minute. We losing people because us that are supposed to be a representation of the church, we're not doing a better job. We're not doing a better job. The way we treat people, the way we talk. When we're speaking, we don't speak. When we don't act based upon the word of God. We allow our feelings and our emotions to take over. And now all the time, 10 times, either we belong to this political party and we belong to the religion. And so for me, after reviewing that thing over and over, my own answer, I don't know about you, but I just believe this was a very good topic for all to just sit down and discuss. And so, yes, I want to agree with Ruben because, you know, I think it's the two things that will lead this world to destruction before Christ even come. Because you can already see there's complete disconnect. Because the people don't see Christ in us. Everybody claim that we praying to God, we know God, this is how it's supposed to be done. But in totality, in reality, it's something different. And so a lot of people, the church is losing a lot of people. And we told the reason today that the world is getting so messed up. The reason is because the glue for love, unity, peace is the word of God. But it disappearing before our eyes, and so people now they even do things for they even think. And I think every one of us, because if you have the fear and God bless you as center leadership, I think you should love everybody, regardless of their race, the gender, their financial status, or their political affiliation. We all should be treated as God's children. And so now when you're listening to the gospel today, even in Liberia, we see the church is so much divided. That is the reason why the Liberian Council of Churches is so weak. Because it's not about God anymore now, it's about loyalty to men. It's not about God anymore, it's the loyalty to men. How can I remain close to power? And so things that we're supposed to speak to, or things that we're supposed to speak against, we can't because we're part of that. We're part of that or political party and that leadership that is in power. And so, just from a relation standpoint, it's being compromised. Especially the country that Liberia that went through a 14-year bloody civil war. 14-year bloody civil war. Think about it for a minute. Just think about it for a minute. And so the gap, the hate, because why? The church in Liberia. Now, I'm not just saying it's not happening all over the world, but I'm very particular about where I'm from, Liberia, where I'm from, that beautiful country. People, they have been compromised. So when we were growing up, the Liberia Council of Churches were very powerful. When it spoke, it carried weight. Today, that is not the case. Because why? Most of our pastors They are part of political parties. And so they spend more time defending the party instead of preaching and doing the right thing. Look, sometimes you don't even need to preach. Sometimes you don't even, just by the way you live, just by the way you act, just the way you behave, will make people come to God. And so I think Ruben Lingo, I think I truly agree when the brother said free politics and religion are responsible for the destruction that is taking place in this world. And so we're going to pause here and we'll come back and we'll look at what is unfolding in Liberia and around the world. We're going to look at the viral headlines from the viral newspaper. But Wednesday, we did discuss about what happened to the 15 years old boy. And so we will continue that because we told you that Wednesday, people got different interpretations. Again, some people say it's not normal, that his coat is witchcraft, but I yet to remind us that the world did a lot of harmful things to us. And if you look and you dig deep, problem Mr. Jara was abuse, maybe during the war. And that is why Wednesday we say yes, 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 Liberia need infrastructure. But our appeal to President Joseph Boakai, the arrest agenda, that the physical budget that will pass, let's invest into our human capital, because I believe if we can do that, and we give you reason why we should invest into our human capital, because you know what? Look at our airport that was destroyed from the water. It's still the same. They gave people money to fix it. They can't fix it. They eat the money. Our in-law brother last year, the ministerial, or how you call it, the ministerial complex. You don't even believe those buildings were constructed, didn't even reach 15 or 20 years yet, but go see the buildings, how they look. And you got people going to work every day. Our blessed and privileged to watch the president cabinet meeting. President Joseph Boakai, where he's supposed to be discussing important issue, how to move the country forward. Then I hear the president saying to his minister, you guys got to paint those buildings, got to keep the ministry clean. That the president will be telling men and women, it's not even your own money. That alone tell you that we need to invest in our human capital. Because whatever we do, we say whatever we do, if our minds are not right, we're going nowhere. We're going nowhere because the way we see things, the way we behave is totally different. And that's why leadership look different to us, because when people get in power over there, again, that's what we saw during the war. That's what we grew up in. Most of the people that are in power today grew up in the war. That's what they saw. Ruthlessness. The great disrespect for the rule of law. And that is why we see molestation, rape, abuse, alcoholism continue to swallow. Now to the point like bro in America. And some are refusing to go to counseling. Man, people, what happened to us, it wasn't joke. And just yesterday, Front Page Africa reported another man in Bon County to Qualax, Machete, almost his girlfriend, I don't know his girlfriend or his wife, because according to him, they only found the Bonico or something, and he accused the woman of having an affair with another person. And so immediately, and he's on the run. All these are things that we saw during the war. These are things that we saw during the war. That's what I'm saying. I'm appealing to President Joseph Yuma Boakai. I hope people will share the video, and I hope and pray that God will touch, somehow shift the president to watch my show, especially on the topic. Because immediately after the war, we expected our government to rehabilitate. And when we say rehabilitation, people just think that we're referring to the people that took guns. You miss it. If you think we're referring to the people that took guns, then we're making a big mistakes. So we said starting with our leadership, from the Minister of State, Presidential Affairs, all the way down to the Autonomous Agency, that these people need, everyone else need to be rehabilitated. We need to introduce programs, counseling, because if the leadership can grab it and understand it, it will trickle down. Like in America, people treat you with respect. But it's that violent behavior that the world taught us. Civilized, we pretend to be civilized, but we are not. It is not because of our own fault. It is because the war took away something from us that yet we yet to get back. Families. In the 70s, you go to bed, you leave your house open. You wash your clothes, you hang it outside. But during the war, drugs were introduced to Liberia because why? That's what people were using to fight the war. Church was a banner, God was a banner, and people were introduced to what? To sorcerers. What we call juju. You see there? Alcohol went on the loose. People got to get high, get flipped to commit the atrocity. During the war, our culture and tradition were dismantled. Our culture and tradition were dismantled during the war. During the war, human being lose value. Human being life was down values. And a lot of people can attest to that. People were killed, left in the street, and dogs were eating human beings. During the war, women lose their virginity. Women lose their values because women were raped. Women were tortured. Women were brutalized. Young boys were sodomized. Some people waiting in that thing that we can see. And we all walking like we're normal yet. We all walking like we're normal. And for those of us that are in America, let's take advantage. Let's take advantage. Let's go to counseling. The war destroy our country. The war destroy us. And so when Mr. Jala and he accomplice raped that 15 years old boy, I believe that I don't think they did it because they in some medicine or in some code. No. And so look at what happened to the man who almost killed his wife. Look out to the girl that got beaten to death by her boyfriend in Tori. Look at the 23 years old girl that got murdered in Kakata. Look at the girl that left from here that went to Liberia. Even right now, look at the amount of things that are happening. And that is why we have to prioritize this. We have to prioritize this. And sometimes we wonder, what is it that people behave the way they behave in Liberia? Because they don't know better. They do not know better. And then we'll pause here, we'll play some music, and then we'll come back and we'll continue. We'll read the headline and then we'll call it a day because it's the weekend. It's the weekend. But we hope what we're saying here, my very self here, we all have to find ways. We all have to find ways. Because we can say everything we want to say. We are appealing and let my people find way to invest in our human capital. You can build our roads, you can build all the skyscraper in Liberia. When they put mine out red, they will not take care of it. That same thing they were building, at the end of the day, guess what? It will break down. I'm telling you, people who are in Liberia when they build that managerial complex that any the Chinese people build, whether they build it right or not, go see it. Go see how it's looking. Go see it. But if we develop the mind of the people, even the current one that will get there, they will take good care of it, they will manage it. And so we'll play some music, then we'll come back, and then we'll read the headline to you, and then we'll call it a night. So we hope that you're hanging tight. We hope you're having a nice time. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello Monica, can you come over? Look at your love and tuna. I want you here, don't send me your tuna. I don't mind that Uber driver, I go feed by that Uber. Oh my God, pardon me money, cow. Let me your baby, and I go make you my lady all night long. Pardon me money, cow. Make me your baby, and I go make you my lady all night long. Pardon me money, cow. Party me money, cow. Party me money, cow. But if I care for your mommy, the problem no be money. See how the girls do the one man, don't fake booty, girl no they near me. Don't get rich, I got that cheddar. So you know they fear me. Be my body. Hello, Monica. Can you come over? We can chop love and tuna. I want you here, don't send me your tuna. I don't mind that Uber driver. I go be by that Uber. Oh my God, pardon me money out. Let me your baby, and I go make you my lady all night long. Pardon me money out. Make me your baby, and I go make you my lady all night long. Pardon me money out. Pardon me money out. Pardon me money out.
Rockstar made it.
Ladies and gentlemen,
It's Foxy, baby. That's why the noise. No matter what I bring, I will stay happy for my sanity. Oh, the jolly, 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 jolly on my mind all day. I get tanto pain, I get tanto worry. Every day I enjoy it. I'm happy, and I get nobody. I'm happy, every day I enjoy it. I'm happy, and I get they can still happy all day, but they can see what's in front of me. Yeah, I didn't know the happiness of my booty. When they see me laughing, plenty they check it there and I'm okay. But I didn't know the puppy I get enough for it. I get everything in don't everything going. I can't fight what before me. Oh, I know what thing for me. I can't play on my peace of mind, you know. I'm doing it for my head, yeah. I wanna eat competition with nobody, but who make my sense. I'm not happy. Every day I enjoy it. I'm happy. I get no bad. I'm happy. Every day I enjoy it. I'm happy. I get no bad.
I dream of my way through life with blessing. I can't play for way but happiness. So I got me low let my problem. I got me low let my problem. Woke up, woke up, woke up, because they can be noise. I like to hear my cookie.
Already, I could promise the time is 5:04. We want to say welcome to the Maima Goyah studio. This is your host, SUBOR, from coming live from the beautiful state of Minnesota. We do not want to waste any time. And so let's see what the first headline says. Liberia victims fear safety after U.S. deportation of accused warlord call for war crime court. We are afraid. A Liberian Civil War survivor say the deportation of former Lord Commander Maima, also known as Black Diamond, has left him fearing for his safety. He alleges Sisi ordered the killing of his sister in 2003 and later oversaw his assault and say he has received death threats linked to another ex-rebel commander, Lady Sekou Kamara. So, just what we're saying now, the deportation of a warlord back to Liberia, the survivor and the witnesses who testify, they are afraid because if the men get back, already the survivor is already feeling the heat. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine? So that's the first headline. That's the first headline in Liberia. So one make sure we take it. The second one, what the second one say? U.S. CDC places Liberia on a level 2 health advisory over a monkeypox outbreak. U.S. CDC places Liberia on a level 2 health advisory over monkeypox outbreak. So, for those of you who don't know what it means, CDC call it Central for Disease Control. It's not a CDC in Liberia. The United States Center for Disease Control and Prevention has placed Liberia a level 2 practice enhanced precaution travel health advisory following a confirmed outbreak of clear 2 monkeypox, citing sustained person-to-person transmission across the country. So that monkeypox, I know we keep talking about it, but if you're in Liberia, please take good care of yourself. Please, the monkeypox, again, it keep going back and forth. We're not hearing anything for the health ministry, but the U.S. government raised the health concern to level 2, asking people to be very cautious and very mindful because of the monkeypox outbreak. We hope that our government will say more to that effect. The third headline say Senator Connor proposes bill seeking to enforce 25% procurement for local businesses, protecting the informal economy. Bapuru County Senator Amara Kane has proposed a bill seeking to protect the informal economy of the country and enforce 25% procurement for Liberian businesses operating in the country during this third session of the 55th National Legislature. There you have it. I don't know why these people not working together, but that's another good bill. But we're still waiting to hear whether they will pass it into law concerning coming up with a fixed salary for the national legislature. But here you are. Tara did it on your own. Now, Liberia LFA, LFA props, county being matched, fixing scanner. 3 official provisionally suspended. Wow. Maybe that reason why my county, Maryland county, not anything. The Liberia Football Association LFA has launched a high-stakes preliminary investigation into allegations of match manipulation and bribery during the ongoing 2025-2026 National County Sport Meet, resulting in the immediate provisional suspension of 3 key figures. I mean, smoke there, fire there. There you go. The prop sent us on a suspicious quarterfinal clash between McGibby and Grand Crew County on January 11. The match, which ended in a 0-0, we'll leave it at that. Match field. So both teams were able to qualify. No wonder why Grand Crew is in the semifinal. But there you have it. That's what we're seeing here. Remember, we're not reading everything. We're just reading the headline. Liberia journalist Ronnie C. challenges Representative Procedure Cooper claim over Police Academy rule cleanup. Veteran librarian journalist Ronnie D.C. has publicly accused Moserado County District Number 5 Representative Procedure Cooper of misrepresenting facts around a recent cleanup exercise along Police Academy rule, saying the lawmaker falsely claimed responsibility for an initiative he quietly undertook using his personal resources. Wow. In a strongly worded statement addressed to the public, CSA his attention was drawn to a Facebook page by Representative Cooper in which she suggested she was behind the cleanup of the Police Academy rural community. She described the claim as dishonest and very misleading. There you have it. And you got a picture there. I put in it. I put in your. Let's just kind of clarify that. So, as you can see here, these are the headlines, and these are the things that are floating in Liberia right now. So, we want to say thanks to each and every one of you for watching. We will be back here on Wednesday, same place, same time, same person. We hope you will continue to share the video. We want to say thanks to each and every one of you for watching. We truly, truly appreciate your support. And I will leave you with this. I will leave you with this. Change cannot come unless we change our own behavior and our own attitude towards the thing that we are hoping to change. And so tonight, our topic was, is religion and politics responsible for the destruction of this world? And so we hope you can sleep on it, you can think about it, you can ask other people for their opinion, and we are appealing to you that you continue to share the link. Until then, we say enjoy some wonderful, wonderful music. Want to say thank you to my man. I see my man Gapen. I saw Gapen. Yeah, Gapen. We say thank you. Thank you, Andy Massa. Thank you, Goyah Boto Shop. This is Apostle from saying so long from the beautiful state of Minnesota.
I will take one and don't take myself out. Enjoy my life. We lose